Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming today. I'm Amber Stowe, Communications Project Manager with the City of Surrey. It is my pleasure to introduce Mayor Doug McCallum to speak further to this morning's police transition update, and he will take questions afterwards. Mayor.
Thank you very much, and also thank you very much for coming out this afternoon. Today is a great and historic day for the residents and businesses of Surrey. I'm very pleased that the Solicitor General has given Surrey the green light to establish an independent police department. Today's announcement makes it clear that the Solicitor General understands and is willing to respond to the needs of Surrey residents. And on behalf of all of our residents and businesses, I want to thank you, Minister Farnworth. For 9 months, the city has been working in cooperation with the Solicitor General and his team to get the green light to establish the Surrey Police Department. And today, we have it. And now the work begins. The city, through the Joint Transition Committee, will start immediately on this next phase. I'm confident that together we will build a world-leading police department that is equipped and ready to proactively respond to the realities of our dynamic city. I'm now happy to take any questions from the media. Yes. Well, I think Minister Farnworth has said no, and I certainly, as Mayor of the City of Surrey, said that no, there will not be a referendum.
Do you think you'll still be able to keep to your timeline?
I think the timeline is looking at the conclusion of the RCMP contract is March of 2021. I think the Transition Committee will be looking at that and going through the number of areas to look to see whether we can still accomplish that or not. So it'll be...
People of Surrey, they don't mind paying a few extra dollars, but the transition time is too long. How can you accelerate the transition time?
Well, I think that's one of the issues that the Transition Committee will be addressing to make sure that they can speed it up. We have been told in my discussions with the transition people that we can speed it up, and we will work towards speeding it up so that we can get it sooner rather than later.
Are you still confident that
Just over here first.
Mayor McCallum, just wanted to ask you, how do you feel about this joint transition plan? Do you feel that it's lights to an end?
No, I fully support it. In fact, I was consulted on it. I think that they couldn't have picked a better person than Wally Opal. I know Wally. I've talked to him many times. He, in fact, inducted me in my last 3 terms that I was mayor. So Wally Opal is a very good person to be heading this transition. I support it. I was asked for who I thought should be, and he certainly was one person that I suggested should chair this committee. So I think you can find a better person to work with both the province and the city on the committee so that we can get our own police department.
Some people have complained about a lack of transparency. Do you believe that there will be more transparency? Do you have any regrets about the lack of transparency here?
Well, I don't agree with that comment. The report that was done for us by the Vancouver Police Department, Dr. Griffiths, and our staff in the city, once it was done and completed and given to the province, it was completely, its entirety was released to the public. It's on our website that anybody can read. And so I think we've been very transparent in this whole process.
Are you still confident that we can see a police force, a civic force, for about 10% more than what you've been saying in the past?
Yeah, I'm actually even more confident today because I've been advised that the RCMP federally will be unionized and that in fact they're starting into the process of collective agreement with the federal government. When that happens, which will be very shortly, I expect, then I expect that their wages that they will get across Canada will equal the same wages of city police departments across the country. We have already been advised by the federal government to the cities that have RCMP that to expect a lot more costs associated with their RCMP contracts because of this collective agreement.
You'd hope to have your chief and your executive team hired by September. Where are you at with that process?
Sorry,
In the report, it says the timeline. You'd hope to have the chief and the executive team for the police force hired by September to keep to a timeline to have everyone ready to go in April 21.
well, I think that the timeline is, the next step is a police board. And the committee will address the timing of that as far as having a police board ready. And the first item of business with the police board is to hire a police chief. And that's under the Police Act in
Do
the
you
city.
have a target date for the appointment of the police board and the chief?
I think we're looking at late this year or very, very early next year.
Now that this process has begun, what are the next steps and what is your timeline to have the police force in place?
Well, as I said to you, our next phase is starting today with the transition committee. They're going to address probably 6 or 7 items that need to be addressed, and they will provide reports for each of those. The time period for that is towards the end, or to be completed probably towards the end of this year. Once they address those issues, then we're looking at our appointment to the police board.
How much
Why would
control?
you want to have a referendum on this?
Because I consider, and I've said this many times in the last 6 months, I consider an election, a referendum on this. It was our number one issue we campaigned on. And also our opposition party that ran in the election, they said they wanted a referendum. That was their main point towards the police. And our Safe Surrey Coalition said that the election, the elected authority of the residents would be the deciding point. And we, in fact, won all but 1 seat. So I think the public's been very clear. I can tell you out there, and I'm out in the public a lot, I don't hear that call at all from the public.
That coalition is significantly weaker today than it was on election day, so why do you think that mandate still holds?
Because we have majority of council, and I think if you look around Metro Vancouver, decisions are made by councils. We're probably one of the only of the large cities that has a majority of council, and I think the public, or the people of Surrey had decided in that election to elect people on their commitment at the time of campaigning, which a couple of the councillors have left that commitment that they got elected on. But I think the public was very clear that they wanted to see their own Surrey Police Department.
A number of your former councillors expressed concerns about what's in the police report or what's not in the police report. What does this mean now that it's been approved to move forward?
Well, I think the police report generally has been approved and accepted. And I think that the further work has to do with some of the parts of that police report. So there is parts that need to have a lot more work done on. IT, for example. We need to work with both, not just the province and the IT, but we have to work with the federal government also. And so there is a number of areas we need further studies, and that's what this transition committee will be doing.
Can you outline those areas that need further study other than IT?
Well, I can't just list them. There's about 6 or 7 areas that they'll be looking at. I think what the transition team will, during the process, may have other areas, and so I don't want to tie them to a certain area. They're going to have areas that will come up over the next few months that aren't listed sort of today. It's a process that we have to work and make sure that we have a complete report on how we're going to go forward. So I think it's a great process. I have to say here that we have had, in my over 9 years of being mayor of Surrey in the past, I have never seen such good support from the province and the city as we're moving ahead on behalf of our residents on this. It has just been a tremendous help on both sides as we work forward towards it. And I expect that will continue down the road. And I can say to the citizens of Surrey that both groups, both the province and the city, will be able to bring our police force into force on their behalf, and on their behalf where they elected us to do it, and on behalf of all the residents. I think the working relationship with the province, I've never seen better in my years in politics. So I think that is a solid sign that we're going to get it done, and we're going to get it done as quickly as we can do it, because a new police force is going to make our communities a lot safer as we move forward.
Mayor McCallum, anything?
Pardon? Well, the costs I've said earlier, the report that was done came in at 10.9 increase in costs. But having said that, in the report it also states that if the contract for the RCMP gets finalized, the collective agreement, then the costs would be just about equal because of the difference in salaries between an independent police department and the RCMP. In other words, the RCMP will probably bargain to be on the same scale as the city police.
Where are you going to find the
Transition costs,
Pardon? On the dressing, we've already had that in our budget, so we're actually quite a ways below what we had in the budget for this year. We're looking at our budgets for next year in the next coming months, so we don't expect it will impact our budgets as far as next year and the year ahead. We can only go that far.
What are they? What's the total cost?
In total cost, 1.9. Well, the total cost for the new police department is estimated at 1.91 million.
Can you promise the citizens of Surrey that you will not have to raise property taxes over the next 2 to 3 years in order to cover the cost of the transition and operation of the new police force?
I can say this because our commitment in the election was you can't separate police from our whole city budget. We've made a commitment to the residents and business on the city of Surrey, and we got elected on this promise, and we're going to continue with it in the next 3 years. And that was that we will not increase property taxes any more than the consumer price index. This year it was 2.9%, and that's what the taxes went up this year. And so that commitment we will stand by, and we will, our commitment, my commitment is it will not be more than the consumer price index.
Mayor, any concerns about the next municipal election impacting the transition?
No, I haven't looked that far ahead myself. So we're working hard to, on behalf of our residents, to get our own city police department up and running, and that's where our focus is right now.
There's been criticism of this process and your report. Do you feel like this vindicates you?
Yes, very much so. I think that working together with a whole number of people, organizations, and so forth, I think we did a full, detailed report. Again, the report that was done originally in my political career was one of the best anywhere in Canada, certainly, and maybe anywhere in the world, because we had the leading people do that and work on that report. Vancouver Police Department, Dr. Griffiths, our own staff are very, very experienced in policing, especially in Ontario. And so we had the best people we could find, literally, and so that report was a very good report. And I'm confident that the transition committee will have good people on it. It certainly is chaired by Wally Opal, who I consider one of the best, and I'm very, very supportive of him. And we will get further reports done, and I expect that we will have our Surrey Police Department by the 2021 period.
Mayor, at this point, how much control do you and City Council feel that you have to guarantee that this police force is in place within 2 years?
Well, I think as much as we've looked ahead and we've had experts look at it, that we can rely on their comments that it's possible to get it up. You can't predict what comes up in that period of time, but we're confident that we'll be up very close to that type of date.
During the transition, both police forces will work simultaneously for some time?
Yes, how the process will go as far as having both police forces. We will be working side by side, the RCMP and our own city police officers, for a period of time as we continue on with our recruitment, and then eventually we will just have our own police officers working. Okay.
The RCMP officer is willing to join Surrey's police, and about their pension, any update on that?
Well, I think certainly a large number of RCMP officers in Surrey will cross over and so forth. I don't like to predict numbers because it's up to them, and especially up to their families. And so I think that decision should rest with them and not have me make any comments. But I will say that we think that a significant number will in fact move over to our own city police force.
Do you know who else will be on the transition committee?
It'll be, I'm not aware of anyone right now. It'll be equal if there's 4 by the province, it'll be 4 on the city, 5 on the province, 5 in the city. But I am not aware of any names at this stage that will be on that team, outside of Wally Opo chairing the committee.
So you don't know if you'll be on it?
I won't be on it, no. I think the intent of the committee is not to have politicians on it.
And Mayor, will Surrey have fewer police officers with the new force?
Well, I think the number of officers has been, and many of you have quoted or made comments on it, but in all police forces, including the RCMP and any city police forces, all forces, the number of officers is mandated that the police chief determines that in whatever city it is. In Surrey, the police chief determines how many officers he needs to make Surrey safe. And that's the same process that's in the city of Vancouver's police force. Police chief there determines how many officers he needs to keep Vancouver safe. So it's up to the police chiefs to determine how many officers that they need to make the community safe. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very, very much. I just want to say a real big thank you to the press, because you know, it's really important to have you come out. I know it's been a busy day. I know some of you ran from Vancouver and out here, and I really appreciate that you coming out and hearing me. And so a number of our councillors are here. I should introduce them. I know Councillor Linda Annis is over there. Councillor Brenda Locke, Councillor Mandy Nagger, Councillor Alison Patton, and Councillor Doug Alford. And certainly, I hit all of them. I certainly want to, and you're free to come up and talk to them. They're going to stay around for you. So if you have any questions of them, please come up and ask them. And again, I want to thank you all for coming out and rushing around today on this announcement. Thank you.